Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm Dana Cowley and with me is Nick Whiting.
Hey.
So in case you guys haven't met Nick before, I'd like for him to give a little introduction about himself, tell us about what you're doing at Epic, tell us about Epic Games Seattle and all the love for cats.
All the love for cats. Seattle, we are big into our cats there. If you look at our IRC channel, it's nothing but cat gifts. It's incredible. But I've worked at Epic for just about 5 years now. I've been doing a lot of things. I started out doing gameplay and then did UI on Gears and then moved over, and now I'm working on blueprints in VR. So I've been working on blueprints for quite a long time. And now we have many more people on it, making it into a more powerful, better feature of the engine, and lots of people using it. It's exciting to troll the forums and see what you guys are doing with it. And the other part of my job here is doing the VR stuff. I started out working on VR stuff as kind of a side after-hours project, thanks to our good friends at Oculus. We worked on a lot of demos with them at E3 over a year ago with the Elemental VR demo. Then we showed our Strategy VR demo on the Crystal Cove at CES, and then recently at GDC we debuted the Couch Nights demo, which was our first kind of multiplayer VR experience, which was super cool and super fun to work with the Oculus guys. So that's kind of what I do around here.
Yep. And we're super excited to have Nick here on site this week because he just came from the VR LA meetup, which was in Los Angeles on Monday, and we are hosting a big meetup here at Epic HQ tonight. So it should be a really fun time. We're going to demo lots of awesome projects, and people from all over North Carolina and parts of South Carolina are driving in to come in and talk about their experiences.
And we have a guest from Oculus coming as well, and he's bringing DK2s. So if anybody's in the area and you want to check out the hot new tech before it hits the street, come on over.
That's right. We're going to have head-to-head multiplayer demos, Couch Nights.
Should be exciting.
Yep. Cool. So I just want to hit on a few points before we get started. We're going to cover off on a little bit of news. We're going to do a community spotlight, and then we're going to dive into a quick development discussion. Some items of news that you don't want to miss. You may have been here for last week's stream. We hosted SpeedTree. It was awesome having the guys from IDV up from Columbia, South Carolina, talking about the new pricing model for Unreal Engine 4 subscribers, new content, all exclusive to UE4 developers, and the availability of the integration for free coming in 4.3. So we're really stoked about the ongoing partnership with those guys. We think you guys are going to be really happy with all the stuff that's coming. I mean, under the new terms, you can get the high-end modeler for $19 a month. That's normally a $15,000 or up package for larger teams. So we're pretty jazzed to help bring more offerings to independent developers and folks who need more flexible options. So that is SpeedTree in a nutshell. The stream from last week is posted on our YouTube channel, youtube.com Unreal Engine. Also, this week we announced that we are accepting PayPal. You can subscribe to Unreal Engine 4 using PayPal, and we're working on rolling that out beyond North America and in Europe, also in parts of Asia. And we're moving on that just as quickly as we can. Going to talk a little bit about the Rivalry demo, which we showed at Google I/O yesterday. We'll get into that in more detail in a little bit. That's been a really cool collaboration with NVIDIA. They've been a tremendous resource for us. And it's been fun to kind of show the high end of mobile gaming. We were on stage with Apple at WWDC showing off Zen Garden and the Metal API capabilities. And that work is actually coming in 4.3. We got permission to ship that, so you'll have that soon. And then, the work on the Rivalry demo will be released to subscribers as well. So with that, we're going to dive into the community spotlight. So this game, For My Brother, is kind of close to our hearts because the indie team that's developing this game is just they're really unique makeup. They made this awesome project called Throw Trucks with Your Mind, and you basically use a peripheral. The name of it escapes me, but literally I've played it, and you can throw trucks with your mind. It's great. But now they are doing something totally different. This game, For My Brother, is about a girl who will go to any length to save her brother, and over the course of the game, she transforms into something less and less human. And I'm going to just play through the trailer quickly here. Do we have audio on that? All right, just wanted to give you guys sort of a preview of that. We wish these guys the best. They're a great team. All right, next up, Radiant UI SDK. The plugin for Radiant UI has been released, and this is where to find it. Since we're talking about VR today, we thought it'd be a great chance to talk a little bit about the new VR game template that has been released by Mitch on our forums. You can go and pick it up here. It looks like he's making numerous updates.
It's awesome that the community's just kind of taken it and run with it.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing to note is we're going to be releasing the Couch Nights demo next month, so hopefully you guys will have something fancy to play on all your new DK2s as they start coming in. But it's awesome just to get as much content out there as an examples, because especially with VR, there's so many things to try and do that the more content and tutorials that we have out there, the better. So huge thanks to Mitch.
Yeah.
I personally appreciate it.
Yes, we all appreciate that here at Epic. All right, cool. I'll play through just a little bit of this so people can get a sense.
All right, so I just updated the VR template for UE4 to version 0.2. That has a lot of control schemes added into the mix. So I'll just show you. So this is basically, it'll rotate the player's body, just the camera will move, or other way around. The body will move and the camera will stay still. I'll just show you, just trying to get a little bit more of what I'm trying to convey. Let's load again. Cool. So as you can see, head moves, same thing, but yeah, so you see the body moves, but it doesn't jerk the camera with it.
All right, so I think you can get a pretty good sense of, what this looks like. We encourage anybody playing around with VR to check this out and provide feedback. Let us know how else we can help.
And let us know what's useful about those tutorials in particular, because we're always looking to make new example content, especially for VR. So if you find anything particularly helpful or confusing, please speak up and let us know so we can tune our templates to help you.
Yep, exactly. I thought this was a really cool scene. So this is modeled in 3ds Max, and I believe Marfuse used the Apex plugin for the towels here. I'm just going to play this in full screen. If I can get it. All right, Very nice work, Martin. Zustiak on our forums, you may have seen his original map generator. He's actually updated that. So just wanted to give a quick little shout out and let you see just the sheer amount of content here. So this can basically be used for the procedural generation of landmass creation, elevation generation, climate banding, precipitation regions, and coastal formations, according to Zustiak. Thank you very much for that awesome project. And you guys may have seen, if you're active on the Polycount forums, this really cool Breaking Bad cabin scene. Ed is a 3D, he's an environment artist based out of London. I believe he's actually still a student, which kind of blows my mind because his work is so good. It really captures the feel of the Breaking Bad cabin. So these are the latest screenshots, which were just posted yesterday. Very nice work. All right. Or actually, hang on, were these, I may have just screwed up, sorry. These may be the updated screens. Anyways, they're all on Polycount. You can see where to go if you want to check this out. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Google I/O. So, Nick, if you had to, kind of summarize, some of the work that we've been doing between the Rivalry demo and other areas like Project Tango, why don't you give people, sort of set that up for everybody?
Sure. So obviously the big news yesterday with Google I/O is we were on stage with them showing off the Rivalry demo, which is kind of a riff on our kind of cinematic fight scene that we had. It's set in the subway scene that we give out as a content sample. So the surprising thing about that was that we got to kind of get access to the early hardware and got it running on a K1 tablet at playable frame rates. So it's really kind of, they're trying to close the gap between, consoles and PC performance and tablet performance, and we were fortunate enough to get kind of early access to that. And so in, I think, less than a month, we put together
About 3 weeks.
Yeah, an entire demo start to finish with people from the rendering team, the content teams, all over the place, the cinematics team as well, to kind of get something mocap set up and put into full production for a Google I/O stage demo. So that was super exciting. And then the other thing we've got going on at Google I/O is something called Project Tango, which you guys might have heard of. It's
I'm just going to click over here to that.
Sweet.
Yep.
It's a project by at Google ATAP, which is the Advanced Technology and Products Group, I think, over at Google, and they were kind enough to invite us over to hang out in their labs for a week and play with the device. And basically what it is, if you can imagine a cell phone or a tablet-sized device that has a depth sensor on the back, so that as you walk around the world, it's actually mapping out the environment around you. And it can tell where it is in space, and it can collect geometry data. So as you move the phone or the tablet around the scene, it's actually learning about where it is spatially, which is super cool, and there's a lot of nifty applications. So just as a quick demo, since they had a tablet there, we put in our mobile temple demo as a runnable demo on their technology. So if you're at Google I/O, go out to the lobby and check it out. You can walk around in real space as you walk around the mobile temple in virtual space. So it's kind of fun to be able to actually physically walk around in the real world and have kind of a window into a virtual world. And one of the things we added on there, because we thought it had a lot of potential, was what we call the director mode, which kind of lets you play cinematographer in there. So you can record a camera track and kind of film the action by physically moving the tablet around the virtual scene and then play that back. So we think that could be a potentially pretty cool application for like grabbing mocap camera tracks and stuff without the need for a gigantic mocap studio. So there's a lot of places we want to go with as kind of an R&D project with this. So we've been working with Chase and the gang over at ATAP, and super helpful. So we see a lot of potential there in the future. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, and we wish we could show you, some of the work that we did on the mobile temple, but it's so new that it's just now hitting the show floor at Google I/O.
So go check it out if you're in San Francisco and lucky enough to have tickets to Google I/O. It's pretty cool. It's very cool.
Cool. All right. Well, let's cover Rivalry a little bit.
Sounds good.
Jason's going to roll just some footage of the standalone demo in case you haven't seen it yet, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
You want to play?
Okay.
So that's on a mobile device.
Pretty impressive for a mobile device.
Yeah. I mean, as you may have heard us talking about how, we built this content originally for high-end PC and DirectX 11 feature set, and thanks to the Tegra K1 and AEP, it's on a tablet running, looking like like what we saw less than 2 years ago, right?
The gap is closing mighty fast.
Yeah, really quickly. So let's see, we have some notes here from the team. More folks wanted to join us, but so obviously this is a showcase, Android, high-end mobile gaming. The constraints that we were working with, we wanted to create a cool demo with as few people as possible, limit the impact on the rendering and platform teams, and use minimal time for content creation. Some of the features that you're seeing in the demo include tile deferred shading, meaning there are particle lights illuminating characters, analytic specular from all light sources, more accurate reflections and screen space reflections, depth of field, image-based lens flares, and GPU particles. And one of the things we thought could be fun for you guys to see is just some notes from production, sort of like our timeline of when the demo first took shape to, each sort of step of the way. Like it really was truly created in 3 weeks. And then you can kind of see, some of the key people who were on this. We had a couple of guys from cinematics, 3 of our programmers, and then 2 artists and other, specialists as far as audio effects and custom meshes. So there you have it. All right. So that is Google I/O in a nutshell. Happy to take any questions on the chat stream. If you just want to preface it with, question in brackets, like all caps, and then post whatever you want to know. We'll do our best to answer. And if we don't have an answer here, we'll take it to the forums after the stream. So let's talk about VR.
Let's talk about VR.
All right, cool. So Nick, tell us about the LA meetup and kind of what you saw there and what you talked about and what was the audience like? Like, just give us sort of the whole picture.
So the show that I was just at on Monday in LA was called VR LA, and it's put on. It was I think the second meetup that they've done. Mm-hmm. It's put on by a couple of guys. Cosmo, I think, is the kind of head organizer of it, and my other contact there was Johnny Ross, I believe, was his name. And the interesting thing about it was kind of a group that I don't usually have communications with. I mean, I'm usually talking to a lot of game developers, but there's a lot of people from Hollywood and a lot of kind of previs guys, a lot of just indie people that happen to be in the LA area. I mean, when you have a city that size, you get a lot of cool people, and they were hosting it at this place called the Mixed Reality Lab, which is they say was the birthplace of Palmer Luckey because it was the lab that he worked in back in the day. And they just had all sorts of cool demos, and they were giving people tours through the studio, just giving the public access to stuff that they usually wouldn't have access to. So it was kind of cool just to see how big it had become. I'm not sure the exact count, but it felt like there was significantly over 200 people there, we were giving couch nights demos from the time that the show opened at 6 till like 11 when we had to tear everything down consistently. And
I
it
have
was,
a feeling tonight's going to be like that too.
yeah, it should be interesting. I got very good at wiping lenses on Oculuses. And big shout out to Oculus. They sent up an extra Tiki computer to run demos on, and Ray from Oculus was there helping me with logistics. He got me a delicious taco, which was awesome. I appreciated that a lot. Helped me run the demos. So it was just a super fun event and met all sorts of different people. And it's fun to kind of branch out from games and learn about what other people are doing with the tech. So
Yeah.
that was pretty fun.
Awesome. I think we have a few photos.
Yeah.
Jason, if you can just cut over.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the parking lot outside of the mixed reality lab. So all the demo stations were outside. So we were giving outdoor Oculus demos, which was a new fun experience for me. And then they were giving tours inside the building.
Actually, it reminds me a lot of Indiecade.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the setup was last year, when we had Zombie there with Daylight. And
Definitely
stuff.
same sort of vibe. You had to remember to put the Oculuses face down so the lenses didn't burn the screen in the sun, which was also fun.
Sounds touchy. And then here,
Yeah, it went till 11 at night, and I mean they were kind of still kicking people out at the end. So it was super popular and super successful. And major thanks to Cosmo and Johnny for inviting me out there and giving us a place to set up. And again, thanks to Oculus for bringing out some DK2s for us, because people were excited to see the tech. Since they're shipping them next month, I mean people are so antsy to get their hands on them.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to be able to give them a little sneak peek at what they're going to get.
Cool. So speaking of DK2, you've obviously been working with that hardware for a while now. What pointers would you give to folks looking to switch their games over and add support?
So the nice thing is with 4.3, once you download it, it'll work out of the box with your DK2s. There's also, if you talk to Oculus, they can give you access in their GitHub branch for the latest and greatest kind of bleeding edge integration. So we're working with them. Actually, a guy from Oculus is coming down to join us for the meetup tonight. So we're going to put some final touches on some code and hopefully integrate it into main in time for 4.3. So we'll have full support for time warping and everything in there. I think the biggest things to pay attention to with the DK2 is that it's super important that you hit the 75 frames a second and maintain that 75 frames a second. Otherwise, you get hitches and whatnot. And I've had a lot of people in the forums kind of ask, how do I get it up to that speed? And there's a few quick tips you can do. We have a forum thread going about it, but in here, the quickest things you can do is you can adjust the screen percentage. Right now, we tend to scale the screen up a little higher than normal, but that obviously costs rendering performance. So if you scale down your screen percentage a little bit, you can sacrifice a little bit of visual quality for a lot more frames, and that helps a lot. And then the other thing that people tend not to know about, but is super useful, is if you hit Control-Shift-, in the editor, it'll bring up the rendering profiler, and then you can kind of drill down and see what's costing you all your frame time. And a lot of time, it's using a lot of dynamic lights or casting gigantic shadows across the level. And there's a lot of easy wins where you don't have to really sacrifice much visual fidelity, but you get a lot of frames back. So my biggest pointer would be just 75 hertz above all. Make sure you start out there, because it's harder to climb the hill than to just start out above the water line and keep on going at a consistent 75 frames. But other than that, you should just be able to strap it on your face day one when you get it and use UE4, and it'll be awesome.
Very cool.
And again, we're going to ship the Couch Nights demo as an example, and that uses the DK2 pretty extensively. We have, if you're not familiar with the demo, it's kind of set in our realistic rendering room in an apartment, and you and another player are sitting on a couch, and we actually IK the in-game avatars to your body. So when you lean forward and then start playing, you can see the other person leaning forward and kind of getting in and starting to play. There's a little bit of a kind of simple fighting game action that's going on the table, so you can beat up the other person in the middle of the room. It's a super simple game, but it's super fun, especially when you look at the other avatar and see what the other person is doing on the other side. That was actually one of the coolest moments in VR for me, was when we were first making that. I was in Seattle, and I was working with Nick Donaldson, super talented guy here at Epic HQ, and we each had a DK2, and we were just testing network connectivity, and we didn't even realize that the IK was working. And I was sitting there in my Oculus, and I looked over at him, and he kind of gave me the bro nod, "What's up?" And it was the first transcontinental bro nod that I'm aware of, at least in UE4. But it was a kind of magical moment, because you could tell there was actually a person there interacting in the same environment that's across the continent from you. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember. You can cut back over, Jason. It's all good. Yeah, well, the first time I played was with you. I was at Nick's desk, and you were in Seattle, and I just remember, like looking down and seeing my hands holding this controller. Then I looked up and, my character jumped up onto your couch, and I could see you like look down at my character, and I'm like, it was kind of magical, because kind of every step of the way with Oculus has been that way when you experience it, but just to have that kind of like meta experience of like, okay, I feel like I'm stationed in this world, and that's my body, and I'm controlling these characters, and then this guy, we can interact as well, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how well it comes through, just the motion in there.
Yeah.
There's so many little details in the game that really make it, like eye tracking was something that we thought, oh, nobody's going to notice that, but it actually makes a huge difference. And even the timing about when you focus your eyes on one thing versus focusing your eyes on another. If somebody's watching their character on the table and then they look up at your avatar, that moment when their eyes shift from the little character to your avatar, it's really cool and magical.
It is. It is. So, VR roadmap. What can we talk about there? I mean, obviously we're in step with Oculus as everything progresses.
So the biggest thing coming down the pipe with Oculus is the time warping stuff. And basically it's another method of reducing the latency in the pipe, because if you've read much about VR on the thing, reducing latency is the key. It's the make or break part of the experience.
Yeah.
So it's another step that gives you a little more latency reduction, because it kind of masks a good bit of the rendering pipeline latency in there. So when you put it on, it makes you feel even more kind of planted in the virtual world as opposed to the other world. And then for other VR efforts, we've got a lot kind of going on internally. Again, we're buffing up the couch nights for release, so you guys can have that. That's taken up a little bit of time to make sure that's a good polished example for you guys. And we're also finishing up kind of tuning our Project Morpheus support, if anybody is using that out there. Valkyrie is using that. They showed off at their CCP Fest and at E3 on UE4 using the Morpheus stuff. So we're kind of using them as a practical experience to improve our integrations there. But one of the big things we're focusing on is making sure that any of these pieces of hardware that you integrate all work through the same interface, so that you can make the content for VR as opposed to making tuned to a specific device.
That's super
important design factor for us. And then we're just going to kind of keep, as we have a lot of good relationships with a lot of people in the hardware industry, so we're working very closely with a bunch of them to make sure that we have a bunch of fun Lego pieces that you can cobble together your own VR experience. If you want to use motion controllers with
there's so many great peripherals.
Exactly.
And you never know which one's going to just make another leap and be even more awesome, right?
Exactly. So we want people just to be able to pick them up and put them all into UE4 and go from there. And again, all the community support. I mean, we've had people finding these, kind of small one-off peripherals and make their integrations for it. Please make pull requests for that. We'd love to review it and kind of make sure that our interface to the engine is mature, and it lets people like you guys just, pick up a random piece of software that maybe we haven't gotten around to yet and integrate it into the engine. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, VR is like this awesome new playground right now. At E3, that was like Valkyrie was the one thing that I actually made it to the show floor for, because there were so many meetings. Like it was like Thursday afternoon, show's about to close, and I'm like, all right, got to make a break for it. And I ran down to the Sony booth, and like it was great. It's just a beautiful immersive experience, and the one I really can't wait to play next is the Drift. Adam Orth's game.
Yep.
Because I hear great things about it, but
I've heard great things from people I've seen. I haven't gotten a chance to use it yet.
Their meeting room was packed the whole time E3 too. I mean, everybody was talking about that game. But
it's exciting times.
Yeah, it is. We're actually downloading the latest build of Senza Pesa right now. We're gonna show it here tonight at the meetup, and then take it with us to develop. They've got a DK2 build apparently. Awesome. I hope it's okay that I say that, but yeah, we're gonna have that with us in Brighton at Develop.
We're leaking all the secrets today.
That's right. We just talk about everything on these streams.
And there is, along those lines, there is other cool surprises that we'll be able to reveal in the coming months in the VR scene. It'll be fun and exciting. So keep your eyes out.
Yep, that's right. Cool. So we're getting closer and closer to Q&A. We're almost there. But first, I would love for Nick to talk a little bit about blueprints. What's the latest word on the street? What's coming down the pipe?
So blueprints are the other half of what I do. So There's lots of fun stuff. I mean, just seeing what you guys have done in the community with blueprints, it continually amazes me, the things that people have come up with. I saw one game, I think it's called Nello, which
Yes.
is kind of, there's like, everything
So
explodes
frenetic.
in
It's
beautiful
awesome.
colors, and it was a completely blueprint-based game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's awesome to see that somebody has the power to do that with blueprints. I mean, we made the Couch Nights demo, which is multiplayer and VR, completely in blueprints as kind of a personal challenge to myself to
think I
see,
even knew
you know,
that.
tax our systems and see if we could do it. And we did it, and it was thanks to the help of Donaldson and Thomas Brout and those guys. They helped out doing some of the character logic, and we used a lot of Thomas's stuff that he did for another demo. So it kind of is a testament to the portability of blueprints. It was a lot of fun, and I was happy we were able to do it. It was a good test of the stuff. But there's lots of fun stuff coming in 4.3. For blueprints, we focused a lot on stability, and a couple people that have gotten kind of random crashes and whatnot from using blueprints in unexpected and surprising ways. We've tried to address those as quickly as possible. We had the 4.21 hotfix that just went out with some of those, and we have even more coming in the 4.3 fix. So everything is much more stable now. Another thing we have is the math expression node, which a lot of people have been asking for. So if you have kind of large trees of logic that are kind of trying to do some math in order to line things up or whatever, you can now type them into a math expression node, and it's one node, and it does the rest of the work under the hood for you. And some of the stuff going forward now for the kind of future versions of it, we've got one person completely dedicated to performance of both the compiler and the editor, so we want to make that a smoother experience. You know, we've grown so much, it's time to kind of take a step back and pay down some of our tech.
Working on compile times.
Yep, working on compile times. That's big on our list, and we've already found some low-hanging fruit. Some of that actually made that into 4.3, so we've cut down a lot of time, but there's even more stuff that we can do. Philip Gavon's been working on that. He's awesome and talented, so that should make 4.4 and 4.5 a lot faster for people. Another thing, Dan O'Connor is working on blueprint merging. So if you guys branch at all, one of the things people wanted to see was to use our diff tool that we already have to kind of see what's changed in blueprints, to actually merge blueprints together from branches. Or if you have somebody else's work that you wanted to kind of merge into your own, we're making a tool that's explicitly geared around graphical merging. So that should be coming down the pipe soon. We're making improvements to the context menu and searchability to hopefully make it easier to find the nodes that you want in the context menu and the palette and the favorites, kind of geared at making blueprints more accessible. And one of the big design paradigms we have with blueprints is we want to help people kind of stumble into the right answer. That's why so much stuff is context-driven in it. So by making our context menu a little more predictable in what it gives users, we're hoping that that'll help people learn, you know, how to use the system by just kind of stumbling around until cool stuff happens. So I'm trying to think what else is on.
Copy paste tool. We had a question about that.
Oh yeah, the copy paste tool that Nick Darnell had done. That's kind of like the paste bin. So if you have a little snippet of blueprint code you want to share with others, it's really cool. You can select it, it takes a screenshot, and then uploads it to a server, and then makes it so you can actually copy those nodes to a clipboard and paste it in your browser. We're working on the online backend for that, and we're going to get that done as soon as possible. So once the backend part comes together with the front end part, that'll be available for you all to use and share your blueprint code with everybody. So it's fun and exciting.
All right.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah, but hopefully everybody found that useful. I know I did. There's so many moving parts. It's impossible for like one person to just keep track of all the process. But yep, we are cranking, and now we're gonna answer some questions.
Sweet.
So I'm just pulling up the latest forum thread here. Okay, so we had this one question we didn't have the answer for, so we pinged Lena Halper, one of our programmers, before this stream. The question is, I think it would be great to hear about the true mathematical procedural animation, and if that is an option that may be coming to blueprints. Let's see, I think we have, I'm just gonna steal this laptop here. Okay, so here's what Lena says. She says, I think you're talking about physics-based animation, like Euphoria from Natural Motion, and that is a very difficult problem to solve, and it requires lots of configuration and custom handling of body parts, since each body part has a different requirement and ability. For example, head versus feet. Even though this is a very cool problem and would be awesome to solve, it becomes really about artistic expression that requires an artist to create those things. So we don't have any plan to support this anytime soon, but we're definitely interested in this, and we'd love to know more about it, and maybe put that on the roadmap. Let's see. I'm just going to make some room here on the desk. All right. Do you happen to know this one, Nick? Will we be seeing an issue/tracker integration? This looks like maybe. Okay, so Blood Tide 12, I'm just going to read your question directly. We may have to post this one on the forum and get an answer. Will we be seeing an issue/tracker, i.e. like Jira or Bitbucket or GitHub, integration into the engine source code controller for plugin support natively in the UE4 master branch?
Not sure. I've heard people that are doing kind of, there's a few independent production companies that are doing integrations into the engine like that, but I'm not sure if we've committed to anything official in the main branch.
Yeah, main branch, big question mark there, at least for the time being, but I would imagine that we'll see some plugins pretty soon, especially as people are trying to ship. Yeah, good question. So okay, so SF the Wolf, who is with us for most streams every week, is the long-term VR support roadmap for the engine meant to be platform agnostic? I think we kind of answered that a little bit, but you can just...
Yeah, everything we do on the VR front is made so that the core functionality, like the head tracking and latency reductions, are as general as possible. So if you plug in an Oculus, you plug in a Morpheus, you plug in the next thing down the line, they should all work the same. So we really want to make the platform agnostic, and we do that by trying to integrate as many of those things as possible and making sure that the interface stays consistent. So as we find things that are expand functionality for certain devices, we'll try to expand those on a device-specific level. So if you want to opt into them, you can, but we don't want to make the VR plugin an Oculus-only plugin or a Morpheus-only plugin or Tech XYZ plugin. We want to make it very agnostic. That's why we route motion controls through our input access system, so it's the same as any other controller. You can implement your own eye head-mounted display interface for any new technology. We had a guy on the forums that was trying to do that for a new piece of hardware that's coming out, and so we encourage people to use those base implementations and then branch out from there, so everything works together the same and is expected. And actually, Valkyrie is a good example of that. I mean, they had a demo at E3 on Oculus and on Sony Morpheus, and it's the same game. So
that's right. All right, so Quincy Forder wants to know, can an iPhone's accelerometer be used as a controller, kind of like a Wiimote? Do you know?
I think they hooked up the rotational axes so you can get that data from the thing. We'd have to ping Josh to be sure, but I'm pretty sure the accelerometer data is hooked up as an axis through the input system.
All right, I'll take this one. I apologize if I mispronounced your handle, Niuva. Any news on the algorithmic substance integration? They currently have a plugin that apparently needs a recompile every UE4 update. Yes, we are working closely with Algorithmic to ship an updated integration or plugin very soon. I can't say a lot more about that, but it's looking like there will be something in the near term. They are, you may know, they are working on at least a couple of sample scenes to release as well. They've been really committed to supporting UE4 and working with us to improve the integration. So that is coming soon. And I'm going to take this next one about Mixamo support from Hisham Amiri. Any plans for in-editor Mixamo support? In-editor, not sure, maybe. Plugin, yes. We will be talking more about Mixamo support soon. They are another one that we've been working with constantly to bring some assets and a plugin to UE4. So then Neo Saban asked, will there be Project Morpheus support? Already is.
Yep, and we're working with Sony as they keep giving us revisions of the hardware. We keep updating it, so we've got a good relationship with them as well, so we'll keep supporting it.
Yep. Leet Gamer, does time warping help with frame rate?
Okay, so that's kind of an interesting, complicated question. So a lot of the time warping kind of has two big aspects to it. What it is, if you haven't heard, is kind of what you do is at the end of the frame, we resample the sensor data from the Oculus to see where the head position is currently, and then we use the depth buffer and the color buffer to kind of reproject the scene and then resample based on that. So you get correction based on the rotation latest. So that reduces latency and kind of hides a bit of the rendering pipe timeline. But there's also been talk about you can use it if your frame rate drops below, if you want to run at 30 hertz or something and update to 60 hertz, you could resample every other frame so that you're rendering the frame live from the 3D data and every other frame, and then you're taking that result and resampling with the latest sensor data next, so that theoretically you could be running at 30 hertz and have a 60 hertz sensor read data. So we have the first part of that, which is the hiding the latency of the rendering pipeline in the integration that we're doing right now. The kind of upsampling, temporal upsampling stuff will be later on down the road. We haven't done that yet. There's still a little more work we have to do with the rendering pipeline to make that a possibility, and we haven't done it yet. So it's something we're definitely looking into because it is a potential application of time warping, but it's not in right now.
Smiler2 asks, will we add some form of interleave mode to increase frame rates on Oculus with lower end systems, or does it repeat lines already?
No, so we'll look into it in the future, but it's not something that's currently on our map. We want to make sure that our DK2 integration and all that stuff is working well, and then we can work on techniques to extend that to the other lower end systems and whatnot. Right now we just kind of focus on making our scenes very performant and using our built-in scalability options in order to make the scenes run on low-end hardware and high-end hardware.
Yep. Malfate, who is also a regular on the stream. Nick, will we see better tools for dynamic change settings to maintain 75 frames per second?
I guess you're probably talking about changing settings within the game to make your computer run it faster. I mean,
that sounds like what he's asking me.
That's always a big push for us in here. I mean, even with our internal games, like we want to make sure Fortnite runs on low-end hardware to high-end hardware. So that's something we're exposing more and more settings for scalability. So we can fortunately take advantage of those same techniques for the Oculus stuff. So it'll keep getting better with time as we get better with that in general.
Cool. Another one from Elite Gamer. For couch nights, do the hands on the controller move in correlation with the gamepad?
They do if you use a Sony DualShock 4 plugged into the USB. We don't have positional tracking because we don't have the PlayStation camera hooked up to it, but you'll get the rotational tracking, and we kind of offset the pivot point so you can see the controller hands going there. So when somebody's really going at it, they tend to lean forward and twist the controller 90 degrees for some very strange physiological reason, but everybody seems to do it. So you can see that.
That's what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost as cool as the bro nod.
All right, so Corbin asks, will blueprints get extended multiplayer support, for example, switching maps with clients?
Mm-hmm. You can kind of do that to some degree right now with, you can use console commands, so your standard level transition commands will work with blueprints. If you use the console command node and you say open whatever map and do a server travel, that will work. We're working on at more of a framework level, kind of the other side of the blueprints where we hook into it, making kind of a game singleton that's useful for, like, if you need to save information off during the level transition, you can do that on this kind of game, I forgot what, game master object or something like that. I can't remember what the exact name is. But when that support goes in, we're going to make sure that's interfaceable with blueprints so that anything that you can do in native code, you can also do during in the blueprints.
Frederick D wants to know, will Unreal Engine support foveated rendering for VR? Foveated, thank you.
Not right now, but it's something we can look at in the future. It's not something we've used internally, so we've looked at potentially using it in the future, at least applications of it, but it's not something that was high on our priority list right now. But if somebody wants to make a community implementation of it, we would be happy to take a look for a GitHub pull request or something, because we only have so much bandwidth. So there's a lot of cool kind of researchy techniques in VR right now.
We want to do it all.
Yeah, we can't do it all, unfortunately. I would love to do it all, but if you guys, even if you're, a student researching this stuff, if you come up with a cool technique, please send it to us, and we can look at integrating, and then everybody can use it, and you could be famous.
And we'll put you in the credits.
We will.
Yeah, we're actually working on a cool credits list for 4.3.
Awesome.
Yeah. SF, another one from him. Does the math expression node save on blueprint overhead?
No, it expands into the same kind of set of nodes that you would have placed in there under the hood during the compiler expansion step. So it has the same performance as using the multiple, add, subtract, divide nodes, but not. It doesn't save any performance. There's no optimizations. But as part of the optimization pass that I mentioned earlier, one of the things we're going to do is optimize kind of the compiler to inline a bunch of mathematical expressions so that we don't have as much VM overhead when we execute that code. So that's coming in a month or two, probably. Some active area of development.
Chat question of the day. What is Nick's favorite lolcat?
Oh, how do you choose? I mean, that's a hard
Like
question.
asking to choose which one of your children you love the most.
I know. I'm a big fan of Monorail Cat because he needs to get where he's going. And he's awesome. I also...
See if I can find him on here. Go ahead. Keep going. Monorail cat? Really?
Also, my friend Nate from Oculus sent me the heavy breathing in anticipation cat gif, which was also awesome and a little bit creepy. The first one on the far left.
This one right here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love this guy.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. How can you not love?
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. Cut to that, Jason. Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, he just keeps going.
Come back. Come back. Hang on.
That's the problem with GIFs. I wish you could just...
Oh, man. Hang on. Let me... There he goes. There he goes.
So that one is near and dear to my heart. I also like I Can See Forever Cat, which is my avatar on the IRC channel.
Oh, yeah. That's the best. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely need to see... I need like a little home image. I Can See Forever
Cat. I'm sure he's got to come up.
Yeah.
Go to images.
Yeah.
Yes, guy on the... this dude.
That guy right there.
'Cause he
This
looks
is
like
Nick's
he's seen some...
avatar.
Yeah, because he's seen some stuff, and he doesn't quite know how to take that, so I sympathize with the cat quite often. And I am so glad that somebody asked me about cats. I knew that was going to come
Yeah,
up.
thank you, because it really would not be complete on this stream without a little cat discussion.
It really is. I mean, I've got a cat pop-up activity book for infants that one of the guys at the Seattle office, Mike Beach, was kind enough to get me. And so, you know, we like to keep it cool around Seattle especially.
Yes, yes. I mean, gosh, we could even just do a weekly segment on, like, roundups from the Seattle Slack channel.
Yes, it is quite the place. I mean, we're...
Top 5 cats of the week.
Yeah,
That should be a thing.
It should be a thing. We should do that. We actually, if you look at the amount of images and messages posted, the Seattle Slack channel actually has one of the top, especially per megabyte usage, with all those
I don't doubt
gigantic
it.
GIFs that we
I'm
post.
an active poster. I know. All right. Just looking through some of the questions that we had on the forums to see if we missed anything. I mean, there are going to be some things on here about content in the Rivalry demo that we'll just have to get people to go back and answer. Are you seeing anything here that you can address?
Somebody above, I think, asked something about the Tappy Chicken machine above the beach.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the arcade machine,
Perfect.
was it interactable? Since the demo itself wasn't interactable, I don't think that they made it interactable, so I think it was just a pre-recorded movie or something that they threw in there.
All right, here we have one here. In the Rivalry demo, was the arcade game of Tappy Chicken really being played by the AI?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
I would be highly surprised if it
Yeah.
was.
But we do a convincing job of making it look that way, right?
Those guys were going at it.
Yeah, totally. When will UMG be released? Cyber Gabby wants to know. It's still a few months out, but that's like in our list of top 3 priorities. Like UMG is absolutely in there, so hang in there with us. Do you happen to know?
I have no idea on that.
Ooh, I got one from Tato Forever, who is also with us every week on the stream. Unreal C++ networking tutorials. When are they coming? Well, C++ networking, I'll have to get back to you. But in case you guys missed it, I meant to mention this earlier. We just launched a ton of intro to programming C++ tutorials by Lauren Ridge.
They are awesome.
Yeah. She hosted our stream 2 weeks ago, and she's great. Anyways, if you go to the blog post is not up yet, but if you go to youtube.com/Unreal Engine and you hit the playlist, you'll see one that says Intro to Programming, and there's like a dozen or so new videos there. Yeah. So that kind of rocks. Looking to see, do you know,
Is it possible to fold a map into a cylinder and or a tora? I'm not sure what they're asking specifically on that one.
Okay. Couldn't see for it, or you might have to repost that question.
Yeah,
Maybe in the forums would be good to, yeah, where you ask, like, with Blueprint, is it possible to fold a map into a cylinder and or a tour? We're not sure.
Don't know. If you're talking about just arranging geometry, there is a feature called Bluetilities, which is one of the things we're looking at kind of productizing. In the future, right now, it's in there as a kind of experimental, unsupported thing, but basically it lets you operate on the selected set of actors. So you could make something that, calculated the position of all the actors, basically a transform from, having your stuff laid out to wrapping it into a cylinder. You could do that with Bluetilities right now if you want to expose them under the experimental thing. There's nothing wrong with using them. They're just not polished on the UI level right now, so we haven't turned them on as a real boy feature.
Right.
But that would be if that's what you mean, then that's probably the best way to go about it, because that's an editor time thing to do. What else?
How about from Sutivu, will we be able to edit external files in Blueprint, like in C++? For example, input.ini for key mapping.
We only have support for writing to save files, which are a special instance of UObject in there, and we made that as a deliberate choice because file I/O is something that we didn't feel was safe cross-platform, because where you can write to and where you can read for on different platforms, it's highly variant. So we haven't figured out a good way to expose that in a safe way. It's super easy for you guys to, if you wanted to make a Blueprint function library that was just a bunch of U functions in C++ that was like open a file and write to a file and read from a file and that sort of stuff. You could make a library and use it yourself. It just isn't something that we've had the time to expose in a clean way at the engine level, but there's certainly nothing forbidding you from doing that as an extension to Blueprints.
Do you see anything else from this poster that you can answer? Sorry, guys.
Not me. We kind of already addressed the second part of his question with the first part.
All right.
Don't know anything about that.
Okay. I think we can probably go on. All right. So from GeoDab, really nice demo talking about Rivalry. Nice demo about what sort of mobile device would be the minimum to run this sort of thing. So it would be the new device with the K1 chip.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Don't think I know anything about its specifics on that one. So.
All right, cool. From Wesky, I'll just mention there was a question about UDK remote. Yes, there are plans to update it. We don't have a time frame yet, but that's definitely on the to-do list.
I can take a stab at this one.
All right, cool.
So Demolition Man is trying to implement a HUD in Blueprints, and the only way, or he found out that when he changed the screen resolution, that it didn't work. So what I imagine the problem is you're probably specifying absolute coordinates, like draw this material, 500 pixels on the x coordinate and 200 pixels on the y, and that doesn't scale with resolution. So what you need to do is use percentages. Like I want to draw this box at 80% of the way past the screen, so that 80% of 500 pixel width and 80% of 1,000 pixel width are different numbers, and you can automatically do that calculation. And I've actually seen people on the forums that have had tutorials about that, but if you ask again, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can help you set that up. But the trick is basically use percentages to do your alignments or some other alignment scheme, and then it will scale with whatever resolution HUD you have.
The one about the frame rate of the demo, I think we were locked at 30, right?
That sounds right to me.
Pretty
but
sure
I
that
don't
we
know
were.
for sure.
Yeah, and then the next one from Demolition Man.
Demolition Man, how do you return the total number of items in enumeration? I don't know if you can right now at the moment, but thanks to the awesome power of community feedback, we can put it on the list to add. It should be a pretty quick thing to do. It's just a simple little helper function. So when I get back to my desk, you will have your wish.
Wow.
Oh.
Is he? All right. What's
Hey,
up,
Demo
Demo Man?
Does he use the seashells?
All right.
All right, any updates on the time warp? We already covered that. And general status of the Oculus SDK integration. Like I said, we're keeping up with the latest. Artem over at Oculus also maintains a separate branch if you need to upgrade from like 4.2 with the latest dump of the 0.32 Oculus SDK. You can grab that from them directly, and we're integrating into main as we go. So as I said, 4.3, if you just download it, it'll work with your DK2s straight out of the box. But if you want to get the bleeding edge, like Artem's blood, sweat, and tears on a daily basis, you can check out that branch, and he'll give you the latest over there. What else?
4.3 release is next month. We don't have an exact date yet, but we'll give you one just as soon as we can.
And
Definitely
it does
July.
support the DK2 positional tracking.
Yeah.
Any improvement on the default settings for VR? Right now we run at 120, I think, by default on the screen percentage. What we want to do also is make a nice set of library functions so that it's easier for you guys to tweak that on the fly through UI or controller input or whatever you want to do. So you're free to adjust those as you see needed. We don't have any plans for auto scalability right now, but again, as the engine in general gets better at the scalability, we can roll those functions in for VR and just pass that in as a parameter. Release date for the couch nights, other than you should have it by the time you get your DK2. I don't think we have an exact date.
Yeah, right around the time they release the DK2s, we'll ship that.
We've made a couple fixes actually for the stereo mode particles and stuff that were rendering improperly, and some of the screen space stuff has been fixed. So I'm not sure which one specifically they were talking about, but it should be better.
Cool.
Light propagation volumes and
maybe.
stereo rendering. I need to ping the rendering guys about that, but I will raise the priority of it based on that.
All right, great. Hey, a little bit of clarification really quickly on UDK Remote. Thank you very much to Max Pressner, who is watching, and he's on our Slack channel. UDK Remote iOS should work with UE4. There's no plans for Android right this minute, as far as we know. The UDK Remote server is now a plugin in UE4, and it's called Slate Remote. It's enabled by default in baseengine.ini. So thank you very much, Max, for that clarification. Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up for today. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Nick, before
I just want to say, for the fans, I wore the plaid. I am a programmer.
We got your programmer
Got your
plaid
back.
right here. All right. Well, please be sure to tune in next week. Mike Fricker is going to be on the stream. There's a new integration with it's just really cool. I'm just going to leave it a surprise, but definitely be here to check it out. And he's going to show off, we'll probably have a live demo of some kind and then all sorts of other updates. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. If we missed any questions from you, we'll be checking the forum thread, and we'll be online. Thanks again for joining us.